It's been 1,218 days since ChatGPT came out, and people are still using it like it's day one. People get caught up on like the prompts and all of this stuff, but it's actually more about what information and tools does the AI have access to, and then thinking about structuring your information to give AI context. I joined in a talk at this co-working space, and it was good to see all the different levels that people were at. And it was everything from this guy's got a degree in cybersecurity and he's trying to use AI to work on stuff for the London Stock Exchange, everything down to this lady's just started using the Claude website. And when I mentioned download Claude, she was like, what does that even mean? I'm going to call that level 0. So this is where you're just using vanilla ChatGPT or Claude code. Vanilla in this sense just means you've not edited anything. You've just loaded it up. It doesn't know anything, right? Everything that it's going to know, it needs to be something that you've told it, either in this chat, something you've uploaded, or something that you've told it before in another chat if it's got memory. So this means it's got no tools, no custom instructions, it hasn't been set up, and it's stateless. This is the key thing. So you have to re-explain everything every time. The only integration it has is you copy and pasting stuff. And this is the way that I think a lot of people still use this. You know, give me a meal plan for this week, copy and paste in an article and say, can you summarize this for me? And that was what it was 1,200 days ago. Okay, but this is where people are still using it. Like they're still here. What do you know about me and how do you know it? What it knows comes from 4 different places. It's what I've told it, it's memory, context from my account, or the device I'm using, the current date and time, and then files or tools which I've explicitly given access to for like a file that I've uploaded. How does it know this? It's because I've told it something previously, it was saved as a memory, it's visible in this current chat. And what it doesn't have, full access to my computer, passive access to my emails or browser history or microphone or files. It doesn't have hidden knowledge about me outside that was provided through the chat or memory or a tool that I authorize, right? And then it goes into some stuff that it knows about me. And we don't want to talk about that because it knows everything. In ChatGPT, this is the next level. So you have apps, and this falls under this augmented LLM. So this is where we connect tools. ChatGPT apps is an example of that. Claude connectors is an example of that. We can connect up different things so that Claude can use this tool to get information. For example, my task list. Claude has access to that, so it can create tasks, it can check what tasks exist now, it can reschedule tasks, it can figure out what's the most high priority task for me to do. If you're using ChatGPT or Claude, the best way that I think you could use something like this is using projects. So projects, once you're in ChatGPT, I've just created a new project called Travel, and this is where I could add stuff. Okay, so I could add, my booking details for what I've booked for my trip. I could connect it to Google Drive and add any files of stuff that I've researched. I could add some text. Okay, and this is where this chat or this group of chats, because you can have multiple, they've got the context specifically of what you've added. So you're controlling more of what information it's got and perhaps what tools it's got. So this is an augmented LLM. So this is level 1. And for example, the way I would use something like this is the first thing I ever actually used this for was Stripe in Claude as a connector. I think that connectors and MCP are the exact same thing. Connector is just what they call it in the interface. The thing to realize about this is that these names and stuff all change, but all you need to really understand is that it's ChatGPT plus tools, right? That's an augmented LLM. So for example, I used Claude with a connector for Stripe to be able to create invoices. So I could say to Claude, make an invoice or a payment link for this amount, and then it would just do that. And then I could just forward that to someone. And that was like one of the first ways I could actually see the benefit of using this. But in level 1, it's more personalized. You can upload specific context. You can connect specific tools. You can give it custom instructions. Like, for example, in ChatGPT, you can have custom instructions. So I like mine to never use the double hyphen. I like it to be logical. I want it to use first principles. I want it to know that it's not always right. And the responses I get out of this now are better than if I had nothing. You can add more information about yourself. You can toggle memories on and off. So this is just ways to give it more context. When it has more context, it's better. So the one thing which it doesn't have in this level 1 is that it doesn't have access to files. So if you wanted it to write a journal and you use Notion normally, and you say you didn't have that connected up, or you had it in a different app, you would have to be copy and pasting stuff. So you would have to be like managing its context. This was where I first was doing this with Claude, and I was copy and pasting code that it gave me into VS Code. So everyone who started vibe coding back when that started to come out, like that was how you did it. Then we got Cursor, and Cursor is more this level 2. So Cursor is where we open a particular file on our computer, and then it has access to read and write files within that directory. Now, the reason that's useful is because you could use it to write a document, which is your plan, and then you could tell it, follow that plan to make this website or make this thing for me. It could run scripts. It has access to different files. It can test what it's done. So it can basically manage a lot of the process. And this was where we first saw AI plus file system access. And then we started to get commands and MCP tools. And it became this thing where it's now got all of this context. It can pull context from different places, and it can actually do stuff. It can write proposals. It can write notes. It can look at emails and then write summaries and then store them and organize it. You could give it multiple files and be like, can you make a summary from these bank statements? And I started calling this Vibe Admin. 4 months ago, I was using Cursor for this. But now, this is becoming the main positioning for Claude. Claude is not just for coding. Claude Code, made by Anthropic, made by the Claude team, have literally put a different interface on it and called it Claude Cowork. So many words with C there. They've made it so that it does what Claude Code does, but it looks nice. And it follows the same principles. And this is where it starts to actually get interesting, because now I see that more like an AI control center. One of the first popular ways which this became a thing is with Obsidian and Claude Code. And there's this whole community online of people that use Claude with Obsidian. I'm using Obsidian right now. I used Claude Code to write this in Excalibur. I'll open what I've got. So this actually is how I made this diagram, right? Here's the structure, right? It's literally what this is. So this is where you can get it to write to files, but you can do it in a very specific way, like the way that this is working. And so this level 3, I'm just going to use this so I don't go off track. Level 3 is like the 1 and 2 combined. So you've got the augmented LLM, where it's got different tools, your Stripe, your Google Drive, Slack, Notion, but it also has system access. And then you've also got things like your Claude MD, which is instructions on how you want it to do things. And the way that I've got this is using multiple different skills. So skills is basically giving the agent a workflow on how to do something specific. So for example, if I give my Claude Code a YouTube link, it will transcribe the video. And then it will ask me if I want to just save it like that for research, or if I want it to actually look into the points. And then if I say yes, it's like, how much do you want to actually know? Do you want to just know if this is hype? Do you want to know this for a specific thing? And then I can say, yeah, I'm actually thinking of using this information and researching it further so that we can add this to my notes about this offer I'm trying to put together. And this is where it's actually useful for work. So I made something last week, a couple of weeks ago maybe, about the way I'm using Claude Code in my work. And this is very relevant for this, so I'm just going to bring it up. But this is the way I actually use it. Research, writing proposals, converting files. For example, writing stuff in Markdown and converting it into PDFs. Reformatting stuff, sending deliverables to clients. I've got one now that is a client report skill. And what it does is it uses Chrome to look at Google Analytics, Google Ads, and Facebook ads for the project for that company. And then it gives me an internal report which has all the stats. It can reference what work we've done so it knows, has it improved? What does last week's report say? And is the work we're doing actually helping or not? And then because I've got my CRM attached to it as well, it knows that this particular person is not very technical because this guy has asked me to make what I send him less technical, and he's told me what he's interested in. So I have that communication preference. So I just type client report. It does all of that, and then also gives me a deliverable to send to that person with his communication style based on what is important to him. In this sense, my chat with Claude becomes this central hub. And it's not because I'm prompting it in some amazing way. The time-consuming part or the structuring that is actually important here is more, what information am I giving it based on what I need to do? And I realized that having my CRM in this was really important because now I can say, what do I need to work on? Like, what has been open for this long, or what's in my pipeline? Like, checking the value of my pipeline for leads. Or can we draft this update, which is what I was just saying about. I can get it to write notes for upcoming meetings, and then it knows previous correspondence with that client, and it knows what we're trying to do. So it can get me straight to the point. I actually had a call with someone 2 days ago, and he basically said to me, what you've done for us has been second to none. And I was like, okay, that's great. Thanks for letting me know that, guys. Is there anything else you need from me at the moment? And he's like, yeah, we want you in our demo calls when we're pitching this product to our customers because you understand it better than we do. And we like the way that you explain things. Now, the way that I explain things is based on what Claude has told me because I've got it to get me straight to the point, right? I don't want to mess around. And if I'm having a call with someone, I don't want to waste their time. And that's why I'm on here right now. I want to get straight to the point so that you can get off this video and start organizing your files so that you can sort this out for yourself. So I'm really thinking about how do I structure my own files? And you're looking at it here. This is how it's structured. Right? I'm not going to go into all of these because this is my own information. Just look at it like this. I've got journal. There's 133 files in there. I've got my CRM. There's all these different files and folders in there. And everything's set up in such a way that Claude can find what it needs. So this is now, my Obsidian is like a knowledge base for Claude. But on top of that, I've given it the tools which it regularly needs access to. This vault and the way that it's structured allows me to have one point of contact with everything in my business. So it has the context of the proposals, the CRM, like client correspondence. This has everything that I need it to know. I don't care about agents right now, to be honest with you. I care about me being able to use Claude to do leveraged work, to save me time, to be more productive, to be a single point of contact for everything that I need to do in my work, and to think in this way that turning the things I would normally do manually into a process that's repeatable, that's more where my focus is right now. Being useful is more about what does it have access to, what can it actually do, and whether that's something you decide to make run in the background in an automated way, or you do it manually from running a command or asking a question. Like, I don't really care. It's more about the fact that it has access and it connects everything up. And that's all I want you to take away from this, is that if you're at level 0, it's not that useful. This now comes down to how have you structured your information in such a way that it's accessible to Claude and Claude can do useful things with it. And this is where you can really easily go from you're manually putting stuff in ChatGPT. Why are you on ChatGPT's website? It just doesn't make any sense. Claude is closing this gap with co-work and just with their products in general, where they're making it have this type of access with MCPs, with skills, with custom Claude instructions. It's becoming this, and soon everyone will have this. But at the moment, there is a gap because I think people literally have no idea that it even exists. If you're using ChatGPT's website, you're not even in this game. You need to sort that out. And I actually think that it's not that difficult to sort out. If I was going to give you one thing to take away from this, I would connect a task list and I would give it information so that it has context about what you use it for. Who are you working with, or what's this project about, or what are you trying to achieve? And then using it in a loop like that where you say, okay, what do I need to do now for this next thing? Okay, fine, we need to research this thing about visas, or we need to book this stuff. And getting it to do it. I will literally get it to do all of the manual tasks with Chrome. So if you don't know, you can use Claude to do stuff in Chrome. It can click around. I wouldn't recommend that you get it to do stuff which is that complicated, but it can go and find up-to-date prices. It can go and add stuff to your basket in Amazon. This is massively how I used it with planning my trip for Asia. And the way which this levels you up in your work is just mental. If you find this useful, I'm going to be posting more videos like this, talking about things from a high level and more of a mindset shift about how to use this in your work. There's a gap here, right? And if you can figure out this gap and you can use this in your work, you can be more productive. You can make more money. That's my approach. Okay. I'm not trying to save the world. I'm trying to save myself. And I think you can save yourself as well. We're going to finish it there and you can go away and sort out your AI situation. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment.